Hi, this is Debbie. Welcome back to Cheyenne Life. I wanted to update everyone on the last couple of days. I don't think I have posted anything in the last couple of days. Well, day before yesterday, I posted something. So, wanted to get an update. Right now, we have wildfires going on everywhere around us, and a little bit of a storm happening right now. It's very cloudy. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of rain going on, and I think that it has just made the smoke and everything that is carrying in from both the Colorado fires as well as California fires just even worse than normal. All I smell around me is just burning. But we have some enormous fires that are going on in Colorado right now. Over, I think, 150,000 acres have burned, if not more by now. I think it's like over 160,000. And they're trying to get those fires put out. But in the meantime, as everything burns around us, we have went ahead and done some more in regards to the fall garden. As you can see right now, my lettuce is coming up where I had replaced a bunch of lettuce that was here because it was just too hot, and they had just kind of started dropping off leaves and things like that. So we went ahead and replaced that lettuce with new lettuce, and this lettuce does definitely look a lot more healthy. The temperatures haven't went down so much during the day, but definitely have went down during the night, and we are supposed to, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, start having temperatures go down into the upper 80s lower 80s, and maybe even the upper 70s. So a little bit cooler, and the cooler weather crops will have a much better time of it. And don't know if you can see, maybe I can zoom in a little bit, but the beets are definitely starting to take off now. So I think they know that something is up, and it looks like I might have to replace a few beet seeds in there. I still see, if you can look in the middle of the screen, I still see some beets there, but I'm not seeing very many leaves on them. So I think something just kind of, maybe the wind or something kind of blew those over. And sorry about that. That was my grandson. I was sending him back in the house. But anyway, I had some leaves. If you can notice here on the basil, this was the second planting of basil that I had this season, had started turning yellow. And I went ahead and aerated the soil a little bit, and also just kept watering, and it looks like they are starting to pull out of that. We see a lot greener sections that are coming out, and as you notice, the laurel leaves had turned a little bit yellow, and some of them even crisping up a bit. And I think that might be a contribution of heat, as well as just needing some aerating of the soil. So I went ahead and done that. I did go ahead and pull off a bunch of the first season. Actually, this was the basil that was around for a couple of years. I went ahead and pulled a bunch of seeds off of these, as you notice, and have gotten seeds, like quite a bit of basil seeds from these. And we've now got more flowering going on. It looks like it promoted them to flower some more, and some more seeds that are coming on. You can see here, this is the little seed pods that they have. If it'll go ahead and focus. And if you open those up, they'll have about 4 to 5 seeds in each of those little capsules. And before long, you'll have quite a few seeds. It's not too hard to get the seeds open. You just kind of roll them back and forth on your fingers, and they will just pop open, and the seeds will come out. I had went ahead and harvested another run of sage, and now the sage is starting to come back out again. This was only a couple of days ago, and it doesn't take very long for new growth to start, as well as the thyme. It is already spilling over from being harvested this last time, even though I cut it back quite a bit. And I am now getting some blooms that are just about ready to open on the new manzanilla plants here, as well as the third planting of basil has really started taking off now, and it looks like we're getting a little bit of yellowing in there as well. And here comes some of that rain we were talking about. Fortunately, my camera on my phone is actually waterproof, so No issues with that unless there's hail that starts, and then I will have to end the video and go inside. But I also wanted to show you the pumpkins over here on this long vine. The one that's about 40 feet is now about 50 feet. It has went all the way around the tree now. So the pumpkin that was pretty small a couple days ago is now quite large and will probably start turning orange soon. As well as the second one on this vine is also just as big. And that all happened pretty much overnight and has started darkening up a little bit. It had started out pretty light green and I had worried about it, but it has picked up. And also the other side of this plant with the two pumpkins, one of them has gotten quite large, the other one not so big, but I don't have any worries on that. It will get bigger. Looks like it's just going to be a small pumpkin, and it's probably because that one's taking more energy and they're on the same vine. So no longer twins. And as you can see, the water droplets are quite big. I'm not too worried about it unless hail starts, because it feels nice, to be honest, after such hot temperatures. It was actually 93 today. And I did go ahead and harvest my garlic. I am not too happy with it, so I may actually replant it, dry it out and replant it, because I didn't really get a whole lot of cloves with it. So may go ahead and replant that. And I'm going to go ahead and move this into the garden shed since it is now starting to rain here in just a moment. The collards are really coming on. This one, just beautiful. And my parsley is starting to pick up again. I had mentioned that in the last video of not having a whole lot of parsley to put in that care package, but it is now starting to pick up. And I actually found another sprig of parsley. This parsley had actually reseeded itself. It's now 5 years old. And it had actually grown out into all of these sections. And I had trimmed it back to what you see right now, and it actually killed a whole lot of it when I trimmed it back. But there was some sprigs that were left that were still healthy, and those are what you see right now, as well as I had transplanted in some of the ones that were spread out through here into this section, and they are taking off, and you can see one taking off right there, and another one, a small one, right on the other side of that stick with the marker. And I'll probably go ahead and get those transplanted into this section, which I've been doing successfully. And that little piece right there that isn't in mixed with my bunching onions. And the new radishes are definitely coming on, as well as the cabbages. Cabbages are still pretty small, but they stay pretty small for a while and then they'll really pick up. Some of them have 2 and 3 more leaves on them now. And I've got beets started all through this section as well. My spinach is just growing by leaps and bounds. This is actually a giant type of spinach, but because it was so hot it didn't get very tall, but it definitely, leaves are getting very big. And that's a ball left over from my grandson. I told him if he throws it in the garden, it stays in the garden. He doesn't get to go get it because he doesn't know how to keep off of vines and things yet. So I'll go ahead and get that out for him in the next day or so he learns a lesson. And that is the older radishes. They're now coming on and starting to form heads. And my acorn squash is now getting a runner on it. And very shortly there will be acorn squash that'll be growing on that. And I can't wait for that. I look forward to it. And actually looks like we got a little one right there started. So yay! Probably get 5 or 6 off of this plant, maybe a little bit more. And I did get radishes planted behind it, where I had taken out the garlic and the onions. Part of the garlic was here, and I'm still trying to figure out what I might put there. Maybe just some more lettuce. And I had went ahead and taken out the other lettuce and had replanted this with beets, which are on the left side through here. all the way in the back, as well as just replanted the lettuce here, which looks much healthier now. And I had went ahead and put in a row of peas that you can see right through here all the way to the back. And these are actually going to be shelling peas, so I'll be needing to put in a trellis for that. And they are early type of peas, so they will be done pretty soon. This was actually only the 4th day that I planted. They already came up, and they're now already a couple inches tall, so they are just getting leaps and bounds started. And as far as my yellow squash and my zucchini, I had trimmed up some of the leaves on the plants, and it did go ahead and stimulate them to go ahead and start more squash, which I've already pulled. But I do have some new ones coming on in there. And as you can see, squash, after it gets so big, does start to run. You can see the runner here, but it doesn't go very far. And there's a new squash in there, as you can see. Now, an update on my tomatoes. They are actually just about done. As you can see, they are getting pretty spindly. Mostly tomatoes on the tops now. And I actually had to take out one of the plants already. My Romas that are over there in these sections are really starting to die back. So I'll probably go ahead and harvest the rest of the green tomatoes on there and go ahead and get those in the house to finish up ripening, because I don't think the vines are going to make it as long as they need to go ahead and get finished. So I'll go ahead and get those pulled out probably today or tomorrow. And this is my other zucchini plant, the one that was like 6 feet around. It does have more zucchini on it, as you can see down in there, and it did get a runner, so it's going another 5 or 6 feet. And see, as you can see, there's another squash down in there, and then I've got yellow squash still coming on, and these plants are not quite finished, so they will still go for a while. You can see a yellow squash down in there. One of the plants that I'm not happy with this season was the blue pumpkin. It got up about that big, and as you can see, it is starting to look like it's dying off without any production of any pumpkins. This one over here is still pretty healthy, but again, I'm still not seeing any pumpkins on it. And this was supposed to be a variety of about 20 to 30 pound blue pumpkins. And then I was just curious to try them, and nothing really happened, so I don't think I'll be doing that again next year. And that was the artichoke. I went ahead and harvested the artichokes, which we'll be having this evening for dinner. Got a couple of more little ones coming on, but they won't be as big. And then we will go ahead and cut that one back for it to set its rhizome for the next season. And I will be putting hay and mulch on top of that. And an update on the cucumbers. It looks like I am going to have cucumbers this season. This plant does have several cucumbers on it that are very, very small, as well as this one. And then I do have some more that are coming on here, and as you can see, one of them is blooming, even though it's tiny, which means it will start with the runner. And that one was actually a transplant, so that's why it kind of looks like it got a little stunted or something, but it didn't. It's just that it's continuing to come on. And I had a little surprise with a cucumber over here, a little bit older. It started to run up into this tomato plant, and as you can see, there's the part of the vine right there. And I'll just keep letting it go up to the top, and I'll keep that tomato plant alive because that one is the healthier one now that is remaining out of my beefsteak tomatoes, and it does have blooms on it, which means that it's going to have more tomatoes set, and there are some little ones that are coming on, as well as this one is still pretty healthy, and this one is still pretty healthy. And I do have more cucumbers that are down between each of these that are coming on, with some little cucumbers on them, as well as plenty of blooms. So I look forward to that. And an update on the red curry squash. It is turning red. although it's more of a golden right now. And this is the one that is not in a trellised situation, and it has a couple of more on it. I had one of them actually die off, but it does have another runner that's coming out this way, so it'll probably get some more on it. And this is the last running of beans that I had planted over here, and they are now starting to get runners on them. So we will have some beans out of these. And they had gotten bitten by some beetles, but it looks like that those beetles have now moved on because there's new leaves coming out, and I'm not seeing any huge difference with the new growth. So it looks like that will come on and be good. And it looks like I have some wildflowers that are now going to start blooming. These were actually planted here, and they will start taking off. And this is the trellised red curry. As you can see, they are still very red, starting to get a little bit of some browning on the stem, which means they're just about ready, and they will get pulled soon. As well as the trellised cucumbers are now getting a lot of cucumbers on them, as you see here. And I've got more new ones, like back in here, as you can see poking up back there. And these are a long variety, more like an English cucumber, but they still have the spines on them, so they will be good to pickle as well. And I've got kind of a large one here, as well as my Crenshaw melon is getting bigger. And this one turned out really funny. This one turned out totally curved into like a little curlicue. And I was surprised with another red curry that had started on this plant, even though it's not in connection with the ground because it's trellised. I won't be doing the trellising again, as I was mentioning in the video of not being too happy with trellised squash plants, because they do need to be in connection with the ground, because each joint they have roots that come down and get extra nutrients for them. So I was surprised to see that that one actually had another red curry come up on it. So that means that somewhere in all of this trellis it got a connection to the ground and has gotten the roots in there. And this is the one that had been green before. Still has some patches of green on it, but they are going ahead and coming up red, so that one will be good to eat. And I got another run of beans off of these, and as you can see, there's more beans coming on. And this one, the trellis, actually did start dying back. There's still a section of it that is alive and has went all the way across the trellis, but unfortunately it looks like that plant is at its end. As you can see, it is really dying off down there, so unfortunate for that. And I do have some dill seeds that are setting in now, so I'll be collecting those probably in the next couple of days when they really dry off, as you can see there. And plenty more seeds that are coming up on these dill. Make sure you do save your seeds this year if you are gardening, because there is supposed to be a planned seed shortage for the next season, because everyone is growing more due to COVID. Now that they've seen that there's such a shortage in stores, people are starting to pick up and start growing things. So make sure you get seeds saved. I've actually even saved seeds, which I normally don't do, out of tomatoes this season. I usually just pick up a pack of tomato seeds, or just the tomato plants, and transplant them out. But this year I actually started saving tomato seeds, which is kind of difficult. I haven't done that before. So you can see that in my seed video if you go back and take a look at that. And make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notices on videos, because it is difficult with YouTube algorithms to get those notices out, or to receive those notices due to their algorithms. But that is the backside of that zucchini that I was showing you earlier. It is now getting a runner. As you can see, it's starting to push into the tomatoes. And this is the watermelons that I didn't think I was going to get any watermelon off of. I do have a watermelon that is getting bigger and bigger by the day, as you can see there. And there's a couple more throughout here. I wish I'd have had more, but that's kind of the way that Wyoming is. You don't really get a whole lot of melons in a season because the season is just so short. And these are still the transplant bok choy that I'm waiting on to get a little bit bigger before I transplant them over. Unfortunately, the older bok choy went to seed, so I will go ahead and be saving the seeds. I will probably go ahead and trim off some of the leaves that can still be eaten, but the blooms, I will wait for those to set to seed and collect the seeds on those. And my turnips, as you can see, are just enormous. They haven't really started setting bulbs yet, so I'm waiting for that, and they're probably going to be quite big once they get started. As you can see, they are just, stalks are big, and I haven't seen them going to bolt or anything, so I don't think I'm worried about that. They're just going to be really big turnips. And I did find the other day when I was out here in the garden another pumpkin that I did not know about, because it was kind of down in this little dip, and I didn't see it until it got big enough to start poking out. So then I climbed over here, and lo and behold, there was another large pumpkin in here. And as you can see, this is the backside of the first pumpkin that got ready. It's over there. And I'm just waiting for the stem to brown up a little bit more before I go ahead and harvest that one. And this is the backside of the larger pumpkin. That's the largest one. And the red curry that was sitting on top of it. And let me go over there and you can see the red curry a little bit bigger, because that particular red curry looks like it's going to be the largest, and it was sitting on top of this pumpkin and has now kind of not really rolled off, but has kind of gotten scotched between the two vines and the sunflower. And as you can see, it's getting pretty big. Red curry only get about 1 to 2 pounds, and they're really only enough for maybe 2 people when you cut them in half. And I personally like to bake them with a little bit of Parmesan cheese and some olive oil and salt and pepper and sometimes some garlic. They're quite delicious like that. And you can actually eat the red curry squash entirely, including the skin. All of it is tender, all of it is delicious, no bitterness at all. They are even nicer to me than acorn squash or butternut squash. They are just delicious. I love them. And as you can see, the vines are starting to die back on the larger pumpkin, but it is still plenty of life left to support new ones that it has coming on, which was the one that I just had shown you. And then there's another one here. So that will take care of that, and it's actually has extended its vine all the way out. And that was the one with the dewy mildew, or downy mildew, I think they call it. As you can see, it still has some, but these were the leaves that were completely white, and I just kept putting dishwater on them. And as you can see, they are starting to green back out. A lot of that has faded. I think the worst leaf left is this one. And even it has started to get some of the greening back because it was almost entirely white. This one has faded. So has this one. And these two were as bad as this one before. This one is another one that was still pretty bad, but it has started to green out as well in here. But, you know, this one is on its last legs anyway. So we will just let it finish out the season and do what it was going to do. And it has extended all the way out to here. And as you can see, there are little pumpkins still on it. It is still healthy enough to support more pumpkin growth. And I have trimmed back a lot of the male flowers. I need to get back in here and trim out some more. And that just keeps stimulating them to produce more and more. But this vine was absolutely enormous in circumference in the actual vine, so that's why it is so healthy still. And back in there you can actually see the original plant when I transplanted it out here. And you can see that the vines are absolutely enormous. And there's where it goes into that larger pumpkin there. And I would probably estimate the size of the vine to be almost as big as my wrist in certain sections. Definitely almost as big as the sunflower stalks, because these sunflowers are just enormous now. And let me see if I can grab this one. Yep. You can see how big they are. Enormous stalks on these, and that's how big the vine is for the pumpkin. And as you can see with my sunflowers, I've got some enormous heads that I will be gathering and roasting the seeds, as long as I don't have any issues with the squirrels. So far it doesn't look like I am, because I do put pie pans out here on a twine that has kind of scared them off. So huge sunflower heads. And the other two that had not bloomed yet, sorry about the water hose, I was actually out here, have now bloomed, and they're rather large themselves. So looking forward to that, especially my partner, he loves sunflower seeds. I'm not too keen on them, but for a quick snack, sure. So that is it. That's an update on the garden that's growing right now. What's finishing out, a lot of this you will see missing probably in the next videos, because I'll be pulling a lot of this out as it finishes out. And I don't think I'm going to be planting any more for this season. Sorry about that. There's a lot of flies going around right now because it just rained, if you can call it rain. But I will be pulling out the vines. You'll see probably a lot of emptiness, because I'm not going to be planting much else in the garden. If I plant anything, it'll probably be lettuce or something that's really quickly done, or more radishes. But that is the end of the large garden tour for this season, and I will be figuring out more videos as they come along on what to put on my YouTube channel. So wish everyone well. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, as I said a little bit earlier, and you'll get notices of more videos. And do good things wherever you are.